today is the webinar for Spiritual Playdate and its introduction to and for the humanist community. And I just want to say good morning to everybody, or good evening, wherever you are, and ask you if you wouldn't mind turning on your cameras, just saying hello, telling us where you're from, and how you got here, or why you're here, and so that we can understand if you what kind of information you're looking for. We have lots of information for everybody. So anybody want to start? I hate calling on people, so come on. Aaron, maybe? You don't have to turn on your camera if you don't, because you know what, it can be early for some people, so please don't feel like you have to turn on your camera. Shaquana, anyone? Katende? Shaquana, hi.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Shaquana. I currently reside in the New York City area, Manhattan to be specific. Um, I'm here to learn. I don't know, much about the topic, so I'm just interested in learning, what this would entail.
Of course. Are you a parent, a teacher, interested for yourself, for your...
I am a parent. I also am a caregiver. I work with children, special needs children.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Bye-bye.
Gritton? Katende, anyone else? So I'm going to just say we've been having lots and lots of people signing up for webinars. As we all know, we're kind of all zoomed out, and so it's a little bit of a up in the air as to how many people actually show up, and some people just want the recording. So we are going to get started. Good morning or good afternoon, Magali. If you want to introduce yourself, you can unmute or turn your camera on. The other thing is, if as you start to hear what this is all about and there's resources for you, certainly feel free to put your name, your information in the chat, your questions in the chat. We'll be putting some links in the chat as well. Magali, good morning or good afternoon.
Hi, good morning. My name is Magali Morales. I have a daughter attending Renaissance Charter School. She is a child with unique abilities. I work at JM Family as a senior IT planner. I have my MBA from FAU, and I am here to learn and hear about what you guys offer and what are key takeaways I could take and apply to my daughter.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And where are you joining from?
Coral Springs, Florida.
Oh, okay. All right. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So we are going to be letting, it looks like people are starting to join. I'm going to wait just a minute. I'm going to start a little bit about, speaking a little bit about myself and Spiritual Playdate, give you an introduction to that. And then our guest co-hosts today, our featured speakers, are going to join us and give us a lot more information and resources as well. So Shelby or Melody, welcome. If anyone wants to join to introduce themselves and tell us where you're from or why you're here, please unmute or turn on your camera, and we'll give you an opportunity. We are still going to probably need one more minute for a few more people to join. Okay, well, I will introduce myself. I am Edwina Cowell, and I am the director of an online program, an organization called Spiritual Playdate. Spiritual Playdate is what we call social, emotional, and spiritual life skills for kids and their grown-ups. Spiritual Playdate is not a program that delivers a religion or a specific ideology. It is really about what we call spiritual skills. So spirituality can be defined as the seat of our emotions, our spirit, our energy. There's a lot of different definitions for the word spirit. And so while we are all have our different ideas about that and our different journeys, our program is very much about learning from each other, bringing everyone to the table, being inclusive, understanding each other, and learning coping skills and ideas and activities from each other that can help us. Most importantly for us is to kind of support our younger generations with building coping skills and understanding, having a worldview that's realistic and understanding their place in the world. So I'm going to share a video here and give you guys just a 2-minute glimpse at our program and talk a little bit about our some of the things that we're doing, and then we're going to get specifically into our Humanist community and what they have to offer, and lots of resources from them as well. So, sorry, give me 1 second here. It can be a little bit of a boomer.
I have a question for you on when you said the word spiritual. Can you elaborate more on what you mean by spiritual, or like how it is that what you guys do spiritually?
So, I think so. If any of you are teachers or in that arena, in the education arena, we have had a huge social emotional learning movement for 25 years. Social emotional learning has become something that we are realizing is critical to give our kids an understanding of their own behaviors, how to manage some of those emotions and identify those emotions. So when my program started, my kid was 7 years old, and we had a 7-year-old boy. It was started with 3 moms on the living room floor that had 7-year-old boys, and what we realized that the social emotional learning curriculums were scrubbing anything that we might consider spirituality in order to get it into the public schools. And we felt like by eliminating that piece, we were losing a lot of treasure. One of our moms was one of what you call one of the nuns and duns. She had walked away from all organized religion. Another mom had her son in a religious school, and she was worried that was too conservative. And I was somewhere in the middle, feeling like I liked what I would have called my spiritual home at that point in time, but I didn't feel like I was part of it. I felt like, we call it outsourcing. You hand your kids off to somebody, to a Sunday school or a religious school, and you're not even part of that conversation most of the time. So it was very important for us to become part of that conversation. And again, we are not about delivering any ideology, and certainly theology. We're more, our program is done in the Socratic questioning method, so that we can start to develop critical thinkers. So I'm going to share. Is that helpful?
Yes, it is. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
For sure. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to show this little video. Can you all see this?
Yes.
Why can't we hear it though? Hold on.
Take a look at our world.
Can you hear this?
See what's
Yes.
happening. It's impossible to miss.
If you could higher the volume.
Effectiveness. We see social unrest and political upheaval, environmental disasters and a hurting planet, and heartbreaking global conflict and destruction. These growing threats can cause a roller coaster of human emotions. It feels like we've all been through too much, leaving us restless, angry, sad. Now look at our kids. We see them becoming anxious and confused. They need our help now while they're young. But how can we encourage them to develop resilience and hope? Teach them to understand and manage their feelings and emotions. Give them the tools to become critical thinkers and compassionate global citizens, and equip them with the social, emotional, and spiritual life skills that will serve their mental well-being now and for the rest of their lives. Spiritual Playdate was created for parents, teachers, faith educators, and therapists to use with kids aged 5 to 11. Just a few of our important life skills topics include fear and anxiety, forgiveness, understanding bullying, living and dying, and the all-important golden rule. All of our fun and interactive resources are just a click away. Host groups large or small in your home, school, or spiritual center. And your kids will grow to be kinder, stronger, and more confident. Why have a spiritual play date? Because we believe that it's easier to build strong children than repair broken adults. Join us today at spiritualplaydate.com.
So that is just a glimpse at our program, and I do have a lot more to say about it, but I just want to give everybody the understanding that when this program was developed by three moms, it was never intended to be a curriculum. It was something that we did on a weekly basis with our kids. And when we actually created the website and started to put this out there for the world, we were surprised that faith organizations, that youth groups, that therapists, that people were interested in this. I think partially because what we do is we do segment these topics. So, you know, you don't have to jump in and do something like heaven and hell. You can work on forgiveness, understanding bullying, fear and anxiety. If you do nothing else, work on, you know, spend a little bit of time in the resources looking through fear and anxiety and understanding that, because our kids we have an epidemic of anxiety right now and depression with our kids. So I am not going to talk too much longer about this. We can come back to this later when we get into questions. Please put your questions in the chat as well, so that we don't miss out on you in case we start to run all over the place. This morning, I am so thrilled really to be have our guest co-host this morning from the American Humanist Association, who is going to share with us lots of resources and answer lots of questions about humanism. And I think we have found tremendous alignment and worked together on a number of different things with the humanists, and I'm excited to have everybody here today. So first we have Kristen Wintermute, who is the Director of Education at the American Humanist Association. So welcome, Kristen, and thank you for being here today.
So with me today is Emily Newman. She is the Senior Education Coordinator at the Center for Education at the American Humanist Association. I'm going to start with giving a background on what humanism is. For those of you who aren't familiar or aware, humanism is a life stance guided by reason, inspired by compassion, and informed by experience. Humanism is often defined as a progressive philosophy of life that, without supernaturalism, affirms our ability and responsibility to lead ethical lives of personal fulfillment that aspire to the greater good of humanity. Renowned humanist author Anthony Pinn wrote about the 6 principles of humanism. 1, suspicion toward and or rejection of God concepts. 2, human accountability and responsibility for the human condition tied to an obligation to the larger arena of life. 3, belief in the materiality of life without attention to theological claims of the soul and life outside human history. 4, human community and relation to the world as the framework for practice. And 5, knowledge as strictly a consequence of logic and reason. 6, perpetual improvement as necessary. Though often linked to the Enlightenment, humanism is found throughout history and around the world. Its origins date back at least 3,000 years to ancient China and India. It's connected to all aspects of life and helps make sense of the world around us so we can make the most of the one life we have on this planet. Humanism exists on a spectrum from religious to also known as congregational humanists, such as Unitarian Universalists, ethical culture, humanist Judaism, and humanistic Buddhism, to secular humanism, such as the American Humanist Association. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the resources we have. One of the resources we have for families and children is it's called Bringing Humanism Home. It's lesson plans and activities that were put together and developed for the idea that parents and children can learn alongside one another about humanism. The plans and activities are intentionally kept simple so that families can easily incorporate the activities and discussion within their daily lives. This is a free resource for ages 3 through 11. And the lesson plans begin with self to self and then move on in a developmental model to self to others, self to community, self to environment, and self to the future. Each one of these stages is based in based in moral and ethical development theories. The first level for ages 3 through 4, or for self to self, individuals are free and disciplined search for personal truth, meaning, and purpose for life. It involves developing a positive self-concept. Self to others involves respect for worth and dignity of other individuals and their truths, demonstrating the use of the democratic process and developing a sense of reciprocity. Self and community moves on to search for insights about great prophets, thinkers, and teachers of every age and tradition in developing social contracts. The self to natural environment involves developing respect for all life and a sense of responsibility for the earth and its resources now and for the future. Self to the future involves developing oneself as a citizen to the world, striving for a world of community love, reason, justice, and peace. And to give you an example of, let me share my screen real quick. This is an example of one of the lesson plans for 9 through 11. This is identifying the real life. These lesson plans, as you can see, have suggested books and movies that go along. Children can learn how different life experience can shape and affect you, and how individuals overcome disabilities and difficulties of following their dreams. So I'll just go to the first lesson. It gives you the objectives, materials, procedures. So if you want to do this with your family or you have a larger homeschooling group, these can be adapted for that purpose. So I will stop sharing my screen and turn it over to Emily, who will talk about another resource that's very popular, called the 10 Commitments. Emily?
So the 10 commitments represent our shared values that promote a democratic world in which individuals' worth and dignity is respected, nurtured, and supported. The commitments inspire ongoing positive actions that secular and progressive religious folks can find common ground on, recognizing that each one of us is responsible for the collective welfare of humanity, other beings, and the resources of our shared planet. And I'll put them up so you can see along with me. And then I also am going to put in the chat the link. And apologies if the description on the visual is a little hard to read. It's much more spaced out online. But alphabetically, the commitments are altruism, critical thinking, empathy, environmentalism, ethical development, global awareness, humility, peace and social justice, responsibility, service, and participation. So you see each of the commitments has a full description. And then we also have short action I will statements. We used to refer to these as our children's version because they're very simple and easy to follow and encourage action and direction from folks. So they're quite useful in finding common ground with progressive religions, as well as we have a brochure series called Paths to Humanism that highlight how humanism connects to traditional religions, show some like overlaps in quotes and concepts. It's a little bit more adult level, but for the children, we wanted to make the commitments more accessible to the general public. So we developed an activities workbook. It's a PDF we have available on the website for free, for folks to print. It can be used with or without the Humanist badge, which is that symbol in the middle. It is the badge as well as posters are available for purchase on the site, and you can decide if the badge is an award for completing certain numbers of activities or the whole workbook or other activities that you find relevant to the commitments. We've used the badge is often used with children's groups like Camp Quest, Camp Fire Girls, Boy Scouts of America, and we've also shared it with the Uganda Humanist Schools Trust, as well as individual families and other classes. On the right, you have an example of coloring pages that we developed. We actually used these when Edwina invited us to have a children's booth at the Parliament of the World's Religions. So kind of a mix of being able to, for the younger kids to color in a scenario and talk out their thoughts. Older kids like to write them out. So in this example, there's a conflict between your friends and you need to figure out how you can help them resolve the issue together and how you can use the commitments to strengthen the relationship for all. And we have various other scenarios that highlight the different commitments. The workbook provides exercises for children to work on individually or with adults to understand how their actions impact the world around them. And it was stemmed from working with a humanist scoutmaster in Florida who wanted to start a humanist religious emblems program, but it didn't quite work out with the scouts, and we decided that we don't need to wait on them. We can move forward and share this on our own. And the workbook has been of interest with the Uganda Humanist Schools Trust. They helped us make it also more internationally accessible, which we're hoping will in the future help it get translated into more languages. We do right now have the 10 commitments translated into about a dozen languages. We're adding a few more languages to the website soon. And happy to know if other folks have other languages that you recommend. This again makes it more accessible and easy to absorb for children and families and teachers around the world. And I will hand it back to Kristen.
Thanks, Emily. The 10 Commitments is really popular. We sell tons of posters overseas and across the nation. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the American Humanist Association. It works to protect the rights of humanists, atheists, and other non-theistic Americans and advance the ethical and life-affirming worldview of humanism. This includes individual membership, local communities across the country, online and in-person classes, a graduate-level humanist studies program that offers a master's degree in Master's of Divinity and a Master's of Arts Leadership, policy work, a legal center, and public awareness campaigns. We recently did a public awareness campaign on Project 2025. If you're interested, you can go to the website or look us up on Instagram or Facebook, and you'll see more about us. The other courses that I want to highlight that we have available that are specifically geared towards parents is one on humanist parenting. And it addresses things like how to deal with grief when you don't believe in God. And then we have another course that was just put up last year, and it's called Humanist Family Life Ceremonies. And it addresses ways that families can celebrate birthdays, everyday events, daily practicing of humanist values, looking at rites of passage, even holidays or honoring the earth. They give you lots of good examples of how to do ceremonies and celebrate people in your lives in different ways. And I can also say that we work with the Humanist Society to train and endorse celebrants to perform ceremonies, invocators to provide speeches, often opening of public meetings, and chaplains to offer services at institutions like hospitals, prisons, universities, the military, and more. We work with the Center for Free Thought Equality to ensure humanists and non-theistic are represented in government at all levels, evidence-based policies are enacted, and religious freedom includes the right to not have a religion. Any questions? That's about what we have, or anything you want to add, Emily, that I forgot to mention?
Nope, nothing I can think of. Thanks.
I think you're muted, Edwina.
Thanks. Thank you both so much. That was extremely interesting. And this isn't really a question. It's more of a comment. I think that what we've seen is, we've sort of seen an exodus of from organized faith for good reason. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons where people are turning away from organized ideologies and, maybe thoughts that they grew up with, and they're questioning. And there so many people will say, I'm spiritual, not religious, or I've abandoned all those beliefs. And there's so few things out there that are available to sort of fill that void with something hopeful, promising. I think the 10 Commitments, for example, is such a valuable guide for behavior fulfillment. And some of it is a little bit much for young kids, but at the same time, it's really important that we start young with our kids, because by the time the kids get to middle school, which I happen to call the cruelest season, they are unprepared mostly for what happens. Now, some of them experience horrible trauma long before middle school, but a lot of kids are protected in early years in elementary school. And when they do get to middle school, they're crushed. They're crushed by a friend who cyberbullies them, or some total stranger who mocks them, or, there's just on and on and on. I think we all have middle school stories. And so at Spiritual Playdate, we are constantly trying to get parents, teachers, caregivers, everybody to pay attention to those earlier years when we can build stronger children, when we can give them an idea of their place in the world, and that service and purpose is so fulfilling. And I think that humanism has so much to offer all of us in terms of all of the resources that they have created for both young adults and young children all the way up through adults. And I just appreciate you guys coming on today and sharing all of this with us, because I think there's a lot of people seeking. They're seeking answers. They're seeking everything. Some of them are seeking God. Some of them just are seeking to be out of pain. And whatever that means for people, we are all on this personal journey that we're on. And when we can find that there are tools to help us I feel like we need to run to those tools. So we have I have a great deal of appreciation for you joining us today, and I'm sure there are a few questions. Can I get anyone in our group here to comment or question on what you're hearing? Are you humanist already? Are you interested in learning this today, just learning more? And are some of these tools something that you can use with either your kids at home or kids that you're working with? Can I get a shy group to give us a moment?
So Mrs. Magali, so what I got out of it is that basically this is the commitments that provide a framework for a children to grow into servant leaders, compassionate and responsible individuals. How is it that we can get more information on this if someone is interested? Where do they go? How do we pull the information? I know there's a link that was provided, but obviously you're providing a service, but I don't have the meat for it.
We will be sending out a follow-up email, and
Okay.
would it be okay, Kristen, if we included the 10 commitments download in that email as well?
Yeah, it's free and available for people. It is a great resource. It's based on, character education. As you mentioned, character education in 1950s was outsourced out of the school systems to focus more on bringing up scores, reading, math, science. And so it was often left up to religious institutions to provide the character education. And what we're finding is that since the public school system has dropped the emphasis on building character, whether it's being empathic or not being a bully, being kind, our society is, one would say, David Brooks would say from The Atlantic, he wrote an article about why has America become so mean? And it's mainly because we're not teaching kids at a young age how to be kind, how to think about other people, how to think about building relationships. And one of the things that we say about humanism, it is something to belong to, something to believe in, and something to fight for. So that's kind of our tagline.
And I was going to jump in as well. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize. I'm Melody. I got to a safe location to park, so I cannot agree with you more what was just said. I was a school teacher for 21 years, and I'm a mama of a blended family of 6, some with special needs. And one of the reasons that I walked out in May was exactly because of what you just spoke of. I've always been a teacher that I taught kindergarten for a very long time. And over the years, I have just watched the dynamics of the children change intensely. When they come in, they have no idea how to socialize. They have no idea how to share. They have no idea how to be kind to friends. And unfortunately, I feel like in public education, and this is just my personal experience and opinion, that a lot of the character education has been cut. Teachers' hands are tied because it was to a point where we weren't even allowed to incorporate some of this stuff because it was so academic focused. And I fought for it for a long time, saying, if you do not hit these children when they're young and teach them how to be good humans, period, they are not going to be successful with any of the academics that I teach them. And after kind of fighting my cause for a long time and feeling like I was just treading water, that's when I decided to step outside and try to be an advocate, to learn as much as I can to be able to help those children that need it the most. I have a daughter that's 13. I've done my best to teach her many of these things we've discussed, but just with society and how school is handled these days, it's been a challenge. It's been a challenge. And a lot of the resources that you guys have shared today, I may not personally be able to use it in my new role where I'm at, but it will be great resources for me to share with those parents that I've been in contact with for many, many years that still have children that need these resources. So I appreciate you sharing that today.
Well, thank you. I think you're spot on. There's a lot of research that has been done in Denmark on them infusing intentional, empathetic exercises into how they teach and pairing kids up who are struggling with kids that are more competent in particular topics and teaching them how to be empathic and sensitive to, hey, you're struggling with math, but I'm good at it. I'm struggling with English, but you're good at it. And that it really has, they're like #2 happiest nation in the world because they have intentionally thought about how do we teach our children from day one how to be good people.
And, I feel too that, like for me, I almost felt like I was being pushed out because I am an empath and I am very sensitive. And that reflected in my leadership in my classroom as a teacher. I have lifelong relationships for 21 years with parents and students because of how I made those kids feel, how they knew that I loved them. And I taught them love as well and kindness. And, when I left, I had a lot of people like, what in the world are you doing? But it was just the fact that I even feel like the generation, a lot of the people that are making the decisions, they don't have that empathy themselves. Therefore, if you are showing it like that, I don't know if it's a jealousy thing. I don't know if it's just a misunderstanding thing, but I got a lot of hate, I would say, for being the type of teacher that I was. I was the type of teacher that I told those kids, I love you. We say thank you. We say please. We tell people if they've got a pretty dress on, and it was just a happy place. But some people couldn't handle that because of, like you said, the world is a mean place these days. And these poor children, so many of them don't have someone like that to guide them and lead them. And it's heartbreaking,
Well,
and
they
that's why
struggle
we got to get out
too.
there and do as much as we can.
Yeah, they struggle too with developing a sense of identity. Where do I belong? What's my community? And that's part of what the bringing humanism home is looking at, where do I belong? What's my community? How do I take care of the world around me? How do I be socially aware and globally aware of other cultures and people and languages? And, yeah, it's at the price of teaching more calculus. Which quite frankly, I've never used my calculus, so anybody else have comments or thoughts?
What's happening?
Well, I would like to say something about, this is going to be a little bit, I hope this isn't a preach, but this is a little bit about it takes a village. And I think what we see happening is that teachers, a lot of them don't have the capacity. They just are not in a position to find the time to do the training, to do social emotional learning, to figure out how to make that work in a classroom. We have so many teachers that come back to us and say, these kids are so cynical, so young. They're obviously what we all know is different is, the internet, which is, boys as young as 8 years old are seeing hardcore porn. So it is a different 8-year-old that comes into your classroom. And it's not entirely your teacher's job to teach them character values. And frankly, I would say that a lot of religious organizations have abdicated their responsibility to teach character. And that's another reason why I think we see an exodus from these faith educations and faith schools, things like that. They're not serving our youth. That's why people aren't coming. If parents felt like the classes were serving their kids, they would be there. So what is different now for all of us is we all have access. We all have access to all kinds of curriculums, all kinds of things like this amazing humanist curriculum, which many of us would have never discovered 20 years ago. And the difference is the parents are intimidated by a lot of this. And so to give them resources, to give them the tools so that they can start to do this work at an early age. Teaching them is complicated, and telling them what to believe is obviously, I think most of the people here would say, that's not a good idea. They need to understand what a belief is. We had a father, a spiritual playdate dad that had 3 young boys, and he said, I'm tired of sitting down with my kids and telling them this is what you believe. It's a belief. It's not a fact. We don't know that it's fiction. It's a belief. What is a belief? And frankly, when we are teaching our kids using the Socratic method and asking them questions, not telling them, don't, we don't hit, we don't do this, you don't do that, never do this. How about asking them why? Why don't we hit somebody else? Ask them why, make them think about it. So I think the way we position a lot of this is important, the way we frame it, making this fun and interesting and easily accessed by parents, by teachers, by grandparents, by therapists, social workers, faith educators. We all need to start to support these kids because we are in a world of hurt. And it is easy to ask the schools. It's easy for us to try to ask the schools to do certain things. But again, some of these things are unique to us here in the US. School shootings aren't happening worldwide. They're happening here, and our kids are impacted by them. So how do we give them strength and hope without indoctrinating them? And that is part of what this is about. Kristen, I think
you bring up an interesting point. Both my children are older now. But at one point my daughter said, I'm a humanist. And then at another point she said, I'm not. And my son has decided to declare himself as Islamic and adheres to that belief system. And that goes to the whole idea of, I didn't as a parent ever tell them, and as an educator, what you should and shouldn't believe. You need to discover it for yourself and find where you belong. So yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up. And I strongly advocate for people teaching your kids about world religions and helping them decide what works for them.
I think we like to call it inviting them to become a truth student. I think that when we become students that are seeking truth, we are less likely to buy into these things that are damaging, frightening. I mean, let's be honest, our systems have monetized hate right now. They have literally put us in a position where the media, the internet, all of these platforms are clicking on hate, and those clicks are making people money, and they're frightening our society, and they're dividing us in a horrible way, creating the other, which is really truly opposite to the teachings of a lot of faith traditions. A lot of faith traditions have the golden rule. Now, I would say that the golden rule is become a little bit of a cliche. I think that we don't do a very good job teaching it. We teach it like a transaction, like it's karma. I'll be nice to you, you'll be nice to me. And that's not the golden rule. We have a golden rule on our site, and I'll pull it up in a second. We have a game. There's 20 different versions, 22 different versions, probably more than that, 22 different versions of the golden rule. Every major faith, most minor faiths, humanism, which I don't believe I always have the proper terminology for humanism. People will ask, is it it's not a religion, but it's a faith tradition. It's a faith in something, I think I understand. It might correct me if that's correct or incorrect.
No,
Well,
I think we have faith in humanity.
Right, faith in humanity. I've heard it said faith in the human heart, faith in love, that sort of thing.
That's a good way to put it. Emily, you wanted to add something? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, similar. I'd say like another version is like faith in human goodness, which is not always obvious and proven in practice. So it does certainly take a sense of hope and belief. And to your comment about the golden rule, sometimes people it will refer to the platinum rule in humanism, where it so it adds empathy into the golden rule. So it's less transactional. It's not assuming that everything that works for me works for you. It's really caring about the person that you're connecting with in order to figure out what their needs are. And I think that that's really important. You know, you talk about kind of the extreme version of bullying and hate, but there's also the softer version of, you know, people tend to mostly evaluate their religious beliefs when they're getting married, when they're thinking about if they're going to have children, when they're deciding to blend traditions together. And as much as they love each other, that confrontation of what is truly important to me, where are my boundaries or my limits, where am I open to learning about yours, is you know, something that we kind of don't talk about but always face in society.
To your point, Edwina, and I'll share this link to an article. It might be behind a paywall, so I apologize, but the article is How America Got Mean in a Cultural Devoid of Moral Education. Generations are growing up in morally inarticulate, self-referential world. And he talks a little bit about, that we're enmeshed in some sort of emotional, relational, and spiritual crisis that undergirds our political dysfunction and general crisis of our democracy. And then he talks about what is going on. So I'll put this, because this article is very interesting. It goes to what we're talking about in Spiritual Playdate, about helping kids find truth, finding their own truth, finding, you know, their ways to belong. Where do I belong? Who am I in this world? Who do I want to be? And I think that's where we cross over, where we found each other at World Parliament of Religions, that we kind of crossed over in that common ground of we're all really interested in helping children become moral and ethical, healthy adults, instead of the sad situation we have now with bullying and the shootings and, you know, hate and violence. So I'm going to put that article in the chat.
Thank you, Kristen. And, you know, the other thing is, I think it's okay for us to learn from each other. There are so many things on my journey, in exploring all of these traditions. I just wrote a piece on social media about the Jewish principle of Tikkun Olam, which is the belief that that you're here to repair the world. You're here to repair the world. What a lovely, lovely sentiment. Like if I woke up every day and I said, okay, how can I help repair the world today? And I do think of some things, but like it's not so prominent. But it is one of those teachings that I think is just precious. And I do think it's something that could be helpful for a lot of people to know. So it is okay to pull from these different traditions and teachings and find out what serves us, what serves our kids, what serves our families, what serves us as teachers. A couple of you have work with special needs kids. We have a new advisor. We're going to do some webinars on inclusiveness and ability, because that's another other that we have created. And it really comes down to educating and understanding and finding empathy for all these different kinds of ideas. You know, people will say somebody's on a spectrum. Well, as Ellen DeGeneres just said, we're all on it. It's a spectrum. We're all on it. We're all on these spectrums. So it's time for us to learn about each other. It's time for us to learn about the traditions and hang on to some of those pearls, you know, without having to feel like you have to be, you know, completely immersed in a belief system where you don't really buy in everything. That's okay. That's okay. So, you know, I think we're all finding our way here. I do want to share with you something on the golden rule, because we've created we've created a new viral video challenge on social media called the Respect Challenge. It's called Making Respect Cool Again. And it's a contest on social media, and we hope you will join us. But first I want to show you, let me see here. I want to show you just our golden rule, which I do have the humanism rule under the golden rule. It doesn't have its own platinum color yet, but maybe we can put a little platinum on there. Hold on. I have to log in. How about that? Okay. Oh, sorry about that. Hold on 2 seconds. It's not letting me log in. How perfect. And I also think that we have become so cliche with the golden rule. I don't think people have really, they really take it seriously. They say, love your neighbor. Well, clearly that's kind of seems to be the last thing that's happening right now. You know, it seems like we've gone to hate your neighbor. Here we go. Thank you. Finally logged in. So sorry. So, can y'all see this?
Yep.
Okay. So, in our fun stuff, we have some games that are, some we've created and some are just games that we share, and we're adding to this all the time. And just to be clear, our website, our work, this website is for adults to use with kids. It is not for kids to just go on. They could certainly go on and play a game or two or listen to our music. It's not a kiddie site. It's meant to appeal to grownups that want to do the work with their kids, with the kids that they're working with, etc. So if we have a game, they certainly can play it, but it would be great if you could play it with them, because a lot of these games are really meant to spark conversation. So 20 versions of the golden rule. Oh, that's a long spin. Oh, look at that. Look at that. That's simple. It's that simple. Now, I actually am wondering if I'm going to get fact checked on this. This game was developed about 10 years ago. I want to make sure we do have the correct golden rule on here, platinum rule. If it's incorrect, let us know. I'm guessing it's somewhere along these lines, right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah, go ahead, Emily.
As I say, certainly the negative wording is making me nervous. And so I think I know there's a book, Elle the Humanist, that I think has a probably better version I can send you.
Yeah, if you could get me your version. We did do a lot of research on this, but like I said, it's 10 years old. So, but you can see all these different, Christian, Hinduism, Judaism, Jainism. I mean, faiths that you've probably never heard of as well. You know, a lot of people don't know Zoroastrianism or Sikhism. Here's Native American spirituality. The kids like to spin this until they land on their own religion, if they are raised in a religion. But again, really what this will show you, they're all essentially the same. And they are about how we treat others. We only have a few minutes. I do want to show you something real quick, but I also want to leave a couple more minutes for questions. Please put questions in the chat. Look at that. It's just, okay. Well, that could be my browser. So, but what the other thing that I want to show you is I want to show you something that we have developed for social media right now, and it relates to the golden rule. So this is an ancient Mayan greeting. It's an ancient precept. It's called In Lakesh. Emily and Kristen, I don't know if we talked about In Lakesh before. Have we spoken about this? No? Okay, so we found this way back when we were doing an Indigenous circle keeping workshop, and we were introduced to this, and there's a poem that was written as part of a play from this Mayan greeting, from the indigenous Mayans. This is the way they used to treat each other. And it's very similar to Namaste or Ubuntu, some of these premises about our connection to each other. And it's called In Lakesh, and it's very simple. We see it as a series of affirmations. You are my other me. If I do harm to you, I do harm to myself. If I love and respect you, I love and respect myself. And if you ask the kids what this means, they will tell you. They say, when I'm mean to somebody, I feel bad. When I'm kind to somebody or I help somebody, I feel good about myself. I'm lifting myself up. So it really is not transactional. It's transformational. It's not karma waiting to come back to you. So we created something called the Respect Challenge, which I'm going to share with you right now if I can. And then we will jump on to questions. I just want to show you a quick video. We'll be sending this all to you. It's a very short video. One second. Okay, can you see this? Can you see in here?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, I heard the beginning.
You are my other me. You are my other me. If I do harm to you, then I do harm to myself. And if I love and respect you, then I love and respect myself.
Yeah, pause. My gosh. Okay, sorry about that. So I will send you all a link to that. It's going to be all over social media. It's already started and we're starting to get we've got winners from last month. We've got groups from Uganda doing it, groups from Ivory Coast, from Bosnia, UK. So, and it's not just kids, this is adults. This is any two or more humans get to do this and videotape yourself and tag us and you get entered in this. So I am really interested in hearing what else. Do we have anything else for our guests today in terms of comments, questions, anything else you'd like to see from us? Such a shy crowd today. Magali?
No, just thank you for sharing the links. I bookmarked them and already signed up. So thank you.
Great. You will not get it right away because we have to edit the recording, but you can get you'll get the recording. You'll get a lot of information from AHA, from Kristen and Emily, from Spiritual Playdate. And I'm guessing, I don't know that much about AHA's social media, but I'm sure they're all over social media, Spiritual Playdate. We're on every platform right now. And our hope is to continue to work together to share resources so that whoever you are, wherever you are, you can impact the kids around you and give them some of these ideas and these things to think about so that they can grow a little stronger in a little bit of a difficult world.
Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate.
You're very welcome.
Thank you everyone for joining us. Appreciate you coming. hearing more about what we do.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Please
Have a great
feel free to email us if you need us. You'll be getting emails from us.
Very well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye now.
Edwina, do you need us here or should?
Yeah, we have a meeting that.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to know. I just wanted to know if there's anything you wanted to follow up on. It's going to take us a few days because we're doing our newsletter, but we'll get this recording together, and we do have 60 people signed up. We're sending it to everybody. So hopefully send me any links that you want in the recording, and make sure you send me the commitments, the 10 commitments. I think I have them. We've shared them already, but if you could send them to me in an email, it would be helpful. And then, maybe we can do this again sometime in the spring. I think it would be good. I think there's a lot of people looking for what you have and what we have, and
Sure.
let me know if there's anything else that you think of or you need from us. We're here.
Okay, that sounds really good. This was fun. We're gonna head out. We've got a meeting, but thank you. And I'm glad we had fairly good turnout.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. And I think the people that were there were, definitely had some serious interest, and that's always good. So
yeah.
thanks
All right,
again.
have a great day. Bye.
You too. Bye now. Take care.